That's cool.
So, so hello everyone. Thanks for joining us. I was just talking before we started this webinar with another guest, and she asked how I started this. So why don't we start that off with with just that? I started this a few months ago after just kind of getting ribbed by a lot of different friends with all the trips we take. My wife is a teacher. I'm self-employed, so we can travel quite a bit, and I kind of have a knack for finding really cheap trips that we tend to go on. So I started this as just a $12 blog, and I threw up some things to share with my friends. And then I figured, well, heck, if I'm gonna go to this much trouble, I may as well, organize it a little more, expand it a little more, and make this a service. And I've been tinkering and toying with it ever since, and it's still probably more of an obsession than a business, but it's fun and uh, it's productive for me because it helps me keep my eye on trips that I'm going to go on, and that's how I started it. So Lisa, hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you.
And so just so all of you guys know, I'm going to go ahead and just leave the microphones open. If there sometimes some background noise will click in, so I may have to shut people off. But for right now, I'm just going to leave the mic open. If you're using your computer microphone, please be aware of that. If you're typing away on your keyboard and so on. But I want this to be more of a question and answer than a monologue from me, because I give plenty of monologues on the videos that I provide you. So with that said, why don't we just start off with the number one question I get asked, and just to kick things off, um, and that is, how do I, rather than waiting for these updates every morning via email, how do I find a trip for spring break or for fall break or in December or whatever? So I thought I would kick things off with just a little overview of that. And with that said, we are not a travel agency. This is a blog. I am a guy in a basement with a blog, and I have not even close to 1% of all the deals out there. My philosophy is I will only put deals that I think are really, really good deals on this blog. So if you're looking for, a fare to Seattle or to Reno or whatever, this might not be the best site. If you're flexible on destination, flexible on dates, this is what this website is designed for. So, for example, if you're starting to plan ahead and starting to think about fall break, you could go to the when drop down. And we're on a computer, it's pretty similar on a mobile phone. Um, but we could do this by month, or since I'm married to a teacher, um, and she said, gosh, most of these trips I couldn't do because they're when I'm working during the school year. And since I also have kids, that's the same story. So we have this category, which is the common travel times that are scheduled around kids' school schedules, college school schedules, and people like my wife's school schedules. So, for example, if you're starting to think about fall break, we have a category for that. Now, is it totally accurate? No, because everyone has different fall breaks, but we try to hit those second and third weeks of October, which are the most common fall break weeks here in Colorado. So with that, with those, two clicks going, well, not even clicks, just a drop down and going over to that category, all of these should be trips that will fall in that window of fall break or spring break or winter break or whatever the case is. Um, I'm kind of adding those as I go, as they find them. So I think there are a couple holidays missing. I don't think we have winter break yet. Um, Spring break, ironically, is still left from this past spring break. I don't think there's anything that far in advance quite yet. But anyway, so that would be an example of how to go about this. I really like to say that this is not something, if you got a cousin's wedding in June to a specific destination, this site probably isn't going to help you. You'd be better off just going to Kayak or Expedia or Travelocity or whatever. You'll not find anything differently than how I would. So I wouldn't want to waste your time there. But if you're thinking of going somewhere warm, somewhere with a beach, somewhere to go diving, that would be what? You could go to what? And diving destinations and see what we found. So let's dig a little bit deeper and then just say, well, this one to Cancun looks good. I just posted this, so I know it should be accurate information. And here is the question number 2 that I get all the time, and that is, do I have to go on these dates? And the answer is, no, you never have to go on those dates. That just happens to be the specific date that I found that you can get those prices. Hopefully for days or weeks and not just hours. But sometimes when these are really, really good deals, these are gone in hours. But anyway, this is how you check that. The first place to just check and see how flexible these dates are is by clicking on the flight alone price. We take you straight to what's called a flexible search. And you can just see how accurate that pricing is. So that looks pretty flexible. You can usually tell at a glance by just the color coding of what they have. And all of those flights are pretty close to that high 300, 400 price range, which should mean that all of those package prices will be pretty similar as well. So let's go on back, and we saw that flights were $395. There are actually a couple that are a little cheaper than that, but these package prices should be pretty correlated. So this $472 is for the specific dates of October 9th to October 18th. Let's just say that for some reason that doesn't work for you. Maybe your kids go back to school on the 16th, so you want to travel back on the 15th. Okay, so you go and you click the flight alone, like what I just demonstrated. And instead of this date that we have highlighted, you would go and adjust the dates and just say, what do we got? Let's say the 9th to 9th to the 15th. Or let's make it a little longer since you can travel on weekends and it's cheaper. Let's go with Sunday the 8th to the 15th. So now we can click on that flight price, and it's probably pretty safe to assume that you'll find a similar package price to what we found. And here's how you do that. So now we've narrowed the search to just that specific date of the 9th to the 15th. And then after you do that, you can go and make sure that the flight you want is that option, and you can view one of those deals. So pick the time that you want to take a flight, hopefully one of the cheaper ones. And then once you're doing that, my bad, that took me straight to the Mexico price. But once you're doing that, then you can go and click on packages. So the 8th to the 15th, we want to remember that in case things go awry. And yes, they did. I thought it saved those dates, but that's the problem with working without a net and doing things live. So let's change this really quick from the 8th to the 15th. And now we can look at the package prices. And
hey, Joel, I have a question. This is Mark Connie.
Hi, Mark.
So my question is, do you, and I know you're linked into Kayak, but where do you get your initial feeds from? Do you get it by blogs? Do you get it by email? And I'll give you a little bit of my background and history. I was a travel agent. I also worked for Sabre and American Airlines for 25 years. So, and I have to tell you that, from my initial interaction with you this morning, obviously I'm going to St. Lucia in May at a very, very discounted price on business fare. So, I think it's a great service you're offering. I'm just kind of curious where you get your feeds from.
Oh, thanks. So St. Lucia was from the deal we posted?
Absolutely.
Oh, fantastic. That makes me
I did a little bit more research, obviously, from
Sure.
playing with the dates with Kayak. Then, of course, I went to American Airlines and to see what they had to offer and what flexible dates they could provide the fare that I was looking for. And I had to tweak it a little bit, but obviously, to go business class to St. Lucia for $1,200 is just, I mean, I'll pay the idiot tax on that one. So.
Well, that's great to hear, and that's why we started adding those. We don't ever actually research the business fares, but we include a link because I assume there's somewhat of a correlation by
Sure.
finding the best travel dates to go and then going and finding the business fares. Those should be cheaper too. So I'm ecstatic to hear that you actually booked this. I think a lot of people are a little shy to admit that they're taking these trips because they think they owe me a commission or something like that, and that's not at all the case. So
yeah, no,
to answer,
I get that. The only thing that doesn't come up on Kayak, and you have to research a little further, is Southwest fares. Southwest does not have any links to any reservation centers other than their own.
And yeah, I just don't have the bandwidth to do that. I'd love to someday maybe add that. But to answer your earlier question, I have an assistant, and she has helped me for years. I have a virtual assistant, so it's a lot cheaper than having a full-time assistant in the U.S. But I have an overseas virtual assistant who helps me with my consulting business. I mean, this is not yet something that is going to be a business venture. It's still a hobby for me that I'm needing to justify all the time I'm spending on it. But anyway, what we do is we search the various public sites. We don't mess with Southwest, but whatever we can find, mostly through Kayak and through the tools that Kayak gives. And then we enter those into a spreadsheet, which I could show you. And then although I'm not a programmer, programmers would probably laugh at this, I'm kind of good at spreadsheet manipulation. So we enter some basic fields for every destination we can possibly find. And then from that, the reason I use Kayak is because it's all predictable. I can tell what the URL structure is going to be. I can link you up to the proper places and so on. So that way we can scale our efforts, and and then after all of that, I kind of look through, I cherry pick, and I say, ooh, that's a low fare. Let's see if that's just a low fare or if it's also a good package price. Or let's see if now where did my package prices go? Yep, I lost my stuff. So we that's the biggest thing is I find it through. I'm on plenty of mailers. I'm even on a competitor's list, and anytime I find something, I will credit them. But for the most part, it's a combination of just searching every morning, every afternoon. We're on plenty of Travelocities and Expedia's mailers and so on. My assistant organizes that for me, and I look at the numbers and analyze what I think represent good deals.
I think what you offer, rather than, and I do a lot of research for our own travel, but this affords me an opportunity to relax a little bit more and be able to say, okay, well, like you said, I can cherry pick upon this, having, because the amount of research that I tend to do on trips can be in the hours, if not, 8-10 hours to find the best fares, the best hotel rates, so forth and so on. So this makes my life a little bit easier. And I found out about you from my brother who lives in Boulder. So it's cool. It's great.
Oh, good. Well, I'm really glad that you like it, and like I said, I'm ecstatic to hear that you actually booked a trip. I know a lot of times we just look and we look and look, and it takes a while before we actually see. You find a trip we want to go on. So let's see here. So that should answer your questions on how to do stuff. And I hope the videos that I've sent are helpful. If there's something that I haven't answered, let me know, and I can either redo a video or we can show it here. But I don't want to be redundant with the videos I send from when you join the system. I think that you should be able to find pretty much anything you need through all of these. If you're just looking for a cheap flight, most of these are just domestic flights. And I just did a quick search for how much, and of course it's really slow. There we go. And so here are just the most recent fares we found that are flights under 150 bucks that hopefully anyone could take advantage of and go on. So Mark, thanks for that feedback. Anyone else have any questions about how to use the site, how this works, anything else they want to do?
Well, yes, I have one of those odd sort of teacher questions. I have a teenager, and it's just he and I, and he had a camp canceled the last week of his summer, which is the first week of August. So I just realized this, we just found out. So I've got a date free from, say, the 29th of July through August 8th. And we want to do something. We want to do something. He likes to dive. I like beaches. What's the best way of going about finding something for that time period? Or is it sort of like a little too late for that with your site?
No, it's not too late at all. So there are two different things you can do. You can start two different places you can start from, and you kind of have to decide on your priority. So I like what you said, though. I'll answer both. So if you say he likes to dive, he likes beaches, well, that's what the what category is for. Beaches, diving. If you're a history buff, you can go to, we try to categorize places that have a lot of history and culture. So that's what the what category is for. The problem with that is that that's going to be all over the calendar as far as timeline. So since it sounds like you have a more specific time frame, you have two options. The free option, or the option that you have in the member area that you're already doing, would be under the when category. So that, instead of going by school holidays, that doesn't really fit. You would go by month.
Right.
Unfortunately, you're at the end. Did you say end of July, early August?
Right. Okay. Basically in a week and a half.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we're not really a last deal site. Every once in a while, if I see something that's a great deal, I'll throw it up there. But I don't ever want to make that promise. However, if you just kind of go and look, you could go and look through the August schedule and see what we've got. Now let's come back to this one. Actually, this would be perfect. But let's come back to it anyway, because that's just a coincidence. But here is everything that we have found in the month of August. Now, if you're traveling the first week of August, 3/4 of these won't fit the bill, but it's easy enough to just take a glance, and as a member, a paid member, you can just look right there. August 31st to September 3rd, too late. August 19th, too late. August 8th to August 22nd, just missed it. And we're starting to dig a little deep, but you get the idea. This actually would fit the bill. This, I believe, is even, I think that's was published as a Labor Day deal. So now that I think about it, that would work too, and that would be a more accurate search. It didn't click in my head that the time frame you're talking about isn't that right around Labor Day?
No, before.
Right,
okay.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so that is where you could start. And it's not totally accurate, but that's the best way you can do. Coincidentally, I did just post, 2 days ago. This is basically everything left before the summer is over. So this could fit that bill as well. And this is one of those where I've got a lot of different posts, or a lot of different trips in one post. So you could quickly scan these and just look at the dates. July 30th to August 2nd. I think that fits time frame wise. In Vegas, not really beaches or diving, but that's an option. Dallas, Texas, Phoenix, Arizona, Cuba. July 17th to August 1st. And again, remember what I said earlier. If the dates aren't exactly right, you can always go and start with the airfare and just look at that grid and within 2 clicks, figure out if it could work. So what were the dates you were mentioning again?
July 29th through August 8th.
Okay. So, Salt Lake
30.
City. That's no fun. Let's get you out of the country. So, okay, so here's something. Puerto Vallarta. Might that be fun? Or Cancun?
Yeah.
So the dates aren't quite right, but they're close, and that's okay. So we can click on the price and see if this is still available. I did post this 2 days ago. And what was the price? $385?
Right.
That's still in there. There's still plenty of days where you can get that price. So now we can go and see. Now the 29th, we could go and change these dates. And then there's nothing saying that you're stuck with this window. This is just for your convenience so that you can have a little wiggle room plus or minus 3 days from the initial jumping off point we gave. But if you want to just change these dates, that's fine too.
Okay.
But looking, with what I sent and what we found, it's kind of looking like those fares in the high 300, 400 range are going to be over here, which means you can't return until about the 10th. Returning on the 9th is going to cost a minimum of $413, 8th more expensive, so on. So this might not be an option for you, but we're close. 430.
Right.
433, that could work. So
yeah, another thing you can do, Lisa, is you can take a look at what he's got in this graph and try to depict that, and you can actually go to the air carriers like we were talking about Southwest before and see what they have to offer down to either Cancun or Puerto Vallarta or something like that. There's multiple options that you can play with. The other thing that comes out on a weekly basis too is Travel Zoo, which I get their email feeds, and sometimes they have instantaneous trips through there too.
What was that, sir? What
Pardon
was
me?
the site?
Travel Zoo.
What was the site?
Travel Zoo.
Oh, Travel Zoo. Okay, I didn't hear it. Okay, well, it's good to hear. This is good. We'll look tonight.
Yeah, and I think this post alone would probably be your best bet because you can quickly scan everything and just see those dates right there.
Sure.
Right.
Mark brought up another good point, and I have that in my mix of tips and tricks to use, but it reminded me of another one. So the first is, like I said, I don't get any commissions. It doesn't bother me if you do this or you call our in-house travel agent. The only reason I have a travel agent is because I kept getting calls from people that said, I'm going from here to here on this date, and I couldn't help them. So I met up with the travel agent who really knows her stuff and said, hey, do you want to field those calls? So personally, it does not matter to me. What's that?
Just finding a good travel agent is a great referral.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's, we met several times over lunch. We've talked. She came referred by a couple different subscribers, and I've had good feedback so far. But like I said, the only reason she's there is because I figured I would help the people that don't realize that's not what I do. But anyway, so you can click through, you can buy directly through the links that I send you. That doesn't make a difference to me. Or you could pick up the phone and call an airline, which is a good best practice anyway, because sometimes the airlines have a better price. And then 2 other tips that are kind of related on that note is that you should, if you've been poking around and then looking somewhere else and then coming back and you notice that the fare goes up, you want to clear your cookies. You want and erase your history, because a lot of these big travel websites do play games, and if they see that you're pricing things out and coming back, they will use scarcity as a tactic to try to get you to hurry up and buy, and they will intentionally and artificially raise the prices on you. So that goes for both if you're looking and coming back and looking again and coming back, as well as if you're checking from your mobile phone. I do get feedback from people that say, hey, I checked this within 10 minutes of you posting and it's not available. And I will go and check, and it is available. And I haven't been able to verify this myself, but I've read it on plenty of the travel blogs, and that is that a lot of the travel sites will have different pricing for computers and for mobile phones. So if you are seeing that these prices aren't accurate, about 80% of my viewers are looking at this on their mobile phones. So you may want to just check from a computer to be safe if the prices aren't what I stated they were when I found them.
You know, another thing too is occasionally you'll run across a specific airline that has posted these incredible fares. And having been involved with reservation systems before, I know sometimes that they load the incorrect fares. So the caveat there is if you tag into one of those, like an example, I saw to Honolulu a year ago from Denver for like $150 round trip. It's because they loaded their database incorrectly that night before. Now, the thing about the air carriers is that if you book it and you buy it, they have to guarantee that fare. However, if they find it, they're going to try to change it immediately.
Right.
Just an FYI there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those, I believe that the majority of the fares I find are, they're not even glitches in the algorithm, but they are these unique scenarios where the airline has not quite enough seats, you know, and I believe that they have algorithms that say, hey, we're 90 days out and we only have 72 seats sold. We need more. Let's hurry up and drop prices. And then as soon as they sell 4 or 6 seats, the prices go back up.
Right.
And so that would explain that. And that's why I always say, don't dig too deep when you go to those different categories. You know, if you're looking at diving destinations, be aware that the more you scroll down, so this was today, this was this morning, this was yesterday, but the further down we go, this was 2 days ago, the further down we go, the older these are, the higher the odds that these fares have gone up.
Mm-hmm.
But just keep that in mind as you keep scrolling. I believe that's a big reason why these fares eventually go up. Once they sell the seats, they raise the prices back up. And it's the computers that are just triggering those price changes.
That is truly a fact. Usually with airlines, the best day to book your airfare is usually on Tuesdays. That's usually when they have their best fares.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Joel, I've got to drop, but, you know, I certainly would love to talk to you sometime and you know, pick your ear and give you some information that I know, having the years background that I do.
That would be great. Yeah, and we're both in Denver.
Yep.
I love doing lunches, so you got my contact info. Let's keep in touch. And I think this is probably a good cutoff time. I like to not go too long in recordings, and this is just under 30 minutes, which would be a nice, easy video to watch for people who couldn't make it. So thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining. Thanks everyone else who just listened in. And you can always email with any other questions, but hopefully this video helped out.
Great. Thanks, Joel.
Have a good night.